Amy Hasbrouck. Amy's the founder of Toujours Vivant, Not Dead Yet, disability rights group. And she's been active in this issue. Don't go too far up. You have to speak right in the mic.
Thank you very much. Toujours Vivant, Not Dead Yet is a non-religious organization by and for people with disabilities and our allies. The goal is to inform, unify, and give voice to the disability rights opposition to assisted suicide, euthanasia, and other ending-of-life practices that discriminate against disabled people. TVNDY is affiliated with the Council of Canadians with Disabilities, which has been fighting for disability rights for 40 years. Along with other disability rights groups, CCD intervened in the Carter case to oppose assisted suicide and euthanasia. We intervened because there can be no free choice while people with disabilities don't have a free choice in where and how they live, and because the law that makes disability the first eligibility criterion for assisted suicide and euthanasia is discriminatory on its face. We intervened for a lot of reasons and we lost. So now we have our work cut out for us. Our first job is to make sure that the law regulating assisted suicide and euthanasia is tight enough to prevent the abuses that go on in other jurisdictions. That means that providing vulnerability assessments to identify and protect people who might be induced to commit suicide because of their circumstances. It means guaranteeing effective palliative care for every Canadian and not just the 30% who now have access to it. It means providing home access modifications and personal assistance services to enable people with disabilities to live in their homes with real autonomy rather than be forced into institutions. It means preventing those who stand to inherit from signing up for assisted suicide and euthanasia on behalf of people who can't fill out the forms themselves. It means having an arm's length review of all eligibility determination for assisted suicide and euthanasia. Our second challenge will be to track the damage to individuals and Canadians as euthanasia and assisted suicide are practiced. We will need to document what happens to Canadians and their families when safeguards fail, because they will fail. Finally, we will need to fight against expansion of the law. Already there is talk of extending assisted suicide and euthanasia to children and people with dementia. But we also need to guard against the unofficial extension of the practice, imposition of do not resuscitate orders and life-ending acts without explicit request, and the idea that life with a disability is a fate worse than death. The struggle must now enter a new and more difficult phase, a phase of vigilance and resistance. We cannot abandon disabled people to the subtle and not so subtle pressures of the back wards, where the only viable choice appears to be death. We must continue to fight for assistance to live, not to die.